Hi, and welcome to the Caleb and Jody Moore podcast. This is episode number 8, and it's just Jody and I today, and I'm really looking forward to some of the things that we have to talk to you about today. One of them is going to be Airbnbs, short-term rentals. Are they a good thing? Are they a bad thing? We're going to give you a market update, kind of let you know where the real estate market is at currently and where it's going potentially. And then we got some other cool stuff that we're going to talk to you about at the end, just some free advice, let's call it, right? It's things that Jody and I have been talking about a lot lately, and we think it's be really cool to pass on to you. So, Jody, start out with, let's talk about Airbnbs.
Let's do it.
And when we say Airbnbs, we mean short-term rentals, right? We own 2 of those up on Pettigene Mountain.
Yep. So
there's been a lot of crazy experiences that we've had with that. So we've had the first one we bought in 2020, I think, right?
we did.
You're
Bought
right.
it in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hold on. Pettigene State Park is in Central Arkansas, and we own 2 beautiful cabins there.
Yep.
And one of them sits on 8 acres. It's gorgeous. One of them sits on 4 acres, and it's an A-frame. And I could move up there.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about that. Like, we sell our house,
Should
live
we
up there,
move
build
up
another
there?
one. Yeah. That's a
But
little far, but
It's beautiful, but it's a little bit more work than maybe what we anticipated, which is what we're going to dig into today.
Yeah, that's right. So when we first started to think about doing the short-term rental and investing, one of the reasons we did that is because we had several long-term rentals, but the market was becoming crowded with long-term rental investors, right? Our competition was high with long-term rental investors. So we thought, okay, there has to be another way to invest in real estate without having to deal with so many of these competitors out there, right? So we started to look around. We got an office in Morrilton, and we started to look around on Pettigene Mountain for a potential. And we found one, and we bought it in, I think, April of 2020. So right at COVID, we ended up buying it.
We went under contract before COVID. Then we closed right after.
Yeah.
I think everything hit. So it was real awkward. And I think at that time we were fearful because we had just put this giant down payment on a property that cost more than our home that we purchased.
Yeah, that's
at
true.
the time,
Yeah.
largest investment.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, and we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, we didn't know if we kind of thought, well, everybody's just staying in their house.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
We're
We had
like-
people beating down the doors to get into it.
We did, didn't
Yeah.
we? We finally launched. Yes, that's right.
We launched in the summer.
Yep. It was August
Yeah.
of 2020 is
Right.
when because we went in there. I'm telling you, we went in there and there were cobwebs everywhere. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
The
It was
lights.
dirty.
I don't even think we looked at it with the lights on.
Yeah, it was
rough.
It was dirty.
It was dirty, but once we cleaned it up, we refreshed it. We got the towels and the linens, and we provided the coffee, and we did all the extras.
Okay, so let's
We'll get
stop
to
right
that.
there. So, I mean, so what are things that you know now that you wish you could have told yourself when you first bought it? Say, hey, be ready for A, B, and C that's going to happen later down the road. What would you tell yourself back then that you know now?
That's a great question. So I think we I think there's a mindset that the Airbnb host, aka short-term rental host owner, has to have, and that is a true heart of hospitality. I think when you're talking about just a real estate investment, it is not just a real estate investment. You're actually investing in your business that you run, and your service is your business. And then basically that house is basically just where you operate out of.
Right.
But your service is that business. So I think I probably underestimated maybe what people were looking for at that time. So I spent a lot of time making it organized, but I wasn't thinking outside the box at that time. Like that experience that people are looking for during that Airbnb stay. Okay, so let's be real. What do you go to an Airbnb for? Why would you book one?
I want to get out of the house. Like I want a new experience than just what I get at my own house or a hotel. Like I don't want, hotels,
Yeah.
you check in, you got your queen beds and your shower and, but when I go to an Airbnb, I want something different.
So like we just said it, we said we would love to move to the cabins, but we don't. Why? Because it doesn't fit our family actually. And it doesn't fit most families. But so the average person can't live there, but they love to go and have that experience of a cabin in the woods.
So what do you have to do for
for
that experience? So when we had that cabin, what experience things that you had to be mindful of every single time somebody came in the door?
Okay, so there's a lot of hands-on operations when it comes to an Airbnb, which is totally what caught me off guard. Because the stay is 2 nights, 3 nights, maybe 4 nights. That's a lot of people in and out of that property within a month, let's say. And because of that, there's a lot of logistics that go in behind that. So let's say I struggled to operate efficiently with the cleaning ladies for years. And I finally found a really good one. Praise the Lord. But so cleaning and maintenance and everything has to be done within that like checkout to check in period.
Right.
And if you're not available and something goes wrong, that's a bad review. That's a sad guest,
Right.
So I think a lot of hands-on operations has to happen.
Yeah.
I think you have to maintain the coffee if that's what you provide. That make sure there's no funny smell. You got to make sure everything's clean. Make sure they have all the towels and the linens that they need. Make sure the yard is mowed. And every new guest, you want to surprise and delight them, right? Because that hospitality behind it is, and I really thought we had been long-term investors.
Right.
Prior to this. So my mindset was a little bit more, well, I'm going to get this house ready and fix it up. And then we're going to post it on Airbnb and it's just going to maintain itself.
Right.
But that wasn't the case. So I was also messaging guests, right? Because they have questions about the property. And so there's a daily touch to it.
Do you get a lot of messages throughout the week?
Yes, absolutely.
Like daily, you think?
Daily. I would say daily or every other day, there are messages that come through the portal. We have gotten to a point where we hire that out to a third party that messages people back and forth, which But for 2 to 3 years, I was doing that just myself. 1 cabin and even 2 cabins is not, I wouldn't even consider it a full-time job. Someone could still have a full-time job and manage this operation as long as there's flexibility within that full-time job. So this one time I got this crazy phone call and it was late at night. And the lady goes, "There's a gas leak. The house is about to blow up and we can't stay here because it's about to blow up." And she was panicking and she was overdoing it. And number one, I got scared because I thought, I don't even know what this lady's talking about. And here's why. Is because there was no gas to that property at all. There's no propane. There's no natural gas. And so I'm thinking, okay, it can't be gas, but if it's not gas, like what is going on? And so her next suggestion was, well, the septic tank's going to blow up. But she was just adamant that something was going to blow up.
I don't think I've ever heard of a septic tank blowing up.
I don't either. No, and we are used to septic tanks.
Yeah.
So anyways, I called a good friend and she just came by the property and she checked it out for us. And as soon as she opened the door, she goes, skunk. And so it was a skunk smell that had crawled under the house and did its thing and just, oh my gosh, it was a horrific skunk smell and it went through the vents. I mean, you could smell it everywhere. Right. It took us about 2 years to get it cleaned out. But
she still thought, even after that, that the septic tank was going to blow up.
She did. She was determined
adamant
that it wasn't a skunk.
And that's what you get with people like that. I mean, you get all kinds of people from different.
You do. But see, the thing is that
life.
I had to be available for that phone call, right? It's not a fix it and forget it type of a process.
Yeah.
I had to attend to her and her emotion.
Right. Yeah. It is more hands-on. We have to have, firewood done. We have to have the cleaning ladies lined up. We have to have everything in an orderly fashion, and sometimes they're still not happy, and that's just part of the experience, right? Is that you want it to be the best, but it's way more hands-on than even what I expected when I first got there. So
yeah, so tell me, that's what I wanted to turn it back on you and say. So what were your maybe surprises from the time that we bought our first cabin to owning 2 cabins?
Yeah, so the amount of maintenance that it takes in order to run an Airbnb is a whole lot more. Now, obviously, if you have a condo in downtown St. Louis, that's not going to need much maintenance, right? It's already built in. But a cabin on 8 acres in the middle of the woods, it's going to need some maintenance. There's trees down, there's trees dying, there's firewood that has to be chopped. There's stuff that has to be done.
So how do we tell them what we do for that.
So, we have to hire a lot of it done. We've had to buy some stuff in order to keep the maintenance up, and then we've had to hire somebody that lives up there on the mountain in order to keep the maintenance up, and then we have to go up there ourselves and work a weekend or 2 or 3 in order to keep it up.
Would you say that's a pro and a con?
It is a pro. I mean, obviously we get to use it, but it's also weekends that you don't get to make any money because you're up there having to work on it. But hey, that's okay. Like, you have it, we have it for that reasons. But do you think that it's in today's market? Is it financially wise for somebody to invest today into a Airbnb?
Good question. So do you feel like, so in 2025, is Airbnb still a good business model?
Right.
I think the answer is yes. I think the property will tell itself, and the host will also determine that. So let's say like you don't like people. If you don't like people and you don't like serving, maybe you don't, you can't, or maybe you can't. Maybe the time is the other thing, the issue. Then absolutely Airbnb is not the right business model for you. I would also say it's hard to manage one that's not near you.
Right.
Even if you have a really good team. So what do you think? Do you think Airbnb is still a thriving business in 2025?
It can be, but I think it's all about the location. I mean, you hear that in real estate all the time. It's location, location, location. I think in Airbnb, that means more than anything. I think you have to have something unique for Airbnbs. You have to have a view. You have to be on the lake. You have to be near the park. You have to have a creek or a pond or have a cabin that is kind of crazy. The tree houses, the hobbit houses.
Yep.
These are unique properties that draw people in because this is not an everyday type of place that you stay at. And you may be paying a little bit more than you would at a hotel, but it's totally worth it because you get a great experience. So yes, but only if you can get the properties that are a great experience properties. And I would say not even then will it always work. We did this. We had one that was in Russellville here. Great view of the lake. Setting up, 1,500 square foot house, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. We redid the whole kitchen. And we thought the same thing. We thought, well, it's going to be great. We're going to be near town, but outside. And it was a flop.
Yep.
I mean, it was a flop.
Yep.
We didn't get anything.
When we opened the doors, no one came.
Yeah.
So we thought, but we took the chance. And what did we do from there?
We turned it into a long-term rental after that, and we still cash flowed, and it's okay. But sometimes it doesn't even matter if you do all the stuff right. Sometimes the market's not telling you that hey, there's a draw there.
Which I love. Hit on that real quick. I love so for the investor who's interested in Airbnb, what would be a backup plan?
Well, in anytime you have to look at it, you got to. Anytime you and I look at a piece of property, it's flip it, it's long-term rental, it's short-term rental. I mean, those are the 3 that we always look at,
yes.
or and the 4th one would be owner finance, possibly.
Yep.
So in this situation, it was in the location where Airbnb would be the top. Short-term rental was the top.
So that's why we tried that.
Tried that first. We tried that for 4 months.
4 months. Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get anything going, so we flipped it, went to a long-term rental. That's worked out really well. Low maintenance on that. Guy's been a good tenant. So that we have that. And then the third option, we still have plenty of equity into it that we could sell it and get out of it if we wanted to.
Yep.
So that's how you reassure yourself when you buy something.
So I'd say each property will hold a different maybe it will rank differently on those scales of flipping versus Airbnb versus long-term rental versus owner finance.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we come into play is we can help with that, with our expertise, with real estate background. But for sure, I think that it's a lot of people think Airbnb is fun. So
it's creative.
and
we get to do that. That's part of the reason we bought it, is that we get to use our creative side
Yeah.
and get to express that through these cabins, and then experience the hospitality in a way that you don't get to with long-term rentals, or you don't get to in investing any other way. So it's fun that we get to see those reviews, and people are making memories at these places.
That's
that
right.
we get to, they'll always come back and say, hey, remember when we stayed at that cabin on Pettigene? And those are fun things that we can be a part of. You know,
That's right.
we're helping them give that
So
experience.
already, so we've owned 2 cabins for, we've owned 1 cabin for close to 5 years, and we've owned 2 cabins for close to 3 years. And I have a little book at each one of the cabins that allows people to write notes and tell me about their stay. And they just go on and on about their experience and how much joy this like cabin brought them, or
Right.
the setting. And, you know, to me, that warms my heart greatly. You have to make sure the numbers of it's profitable at that point also. But man, what a joy to be able to do that for some people.
But
So
on
let's
the
talk about.
on the same side, you do have to deal with some just ridiculously
Oh, yeah.
dumb stuff that happens. I mean, that is part of.
Oh yeah,
That
so
is part of it.
another one is I remember it was right when we launched Moosehead, which was the A-frame, our very first cabin. Remember, cabin in the woods in Arkansas in the summertime. Oh my gosh, she wrote a bad review. She called me screaming. There was a spider on the deck, and it's an open deck.
Yeah.
There was a spider web. Of course, at that time, we were new in this process, and I thought, what have I gotten myself
every night
into?
there's a new spider web. I mean, goodness gracious.
And then another time, somebody called me about, they said, we have to have a plumber right away. We have to have a plumber right away. So I scrambled around and got the plumber, and it was a sippy cup had gotten stuck down there, down. And I think they just thought that everything's backed up, the property was falling apart. But in reality, it was just a sippy cup.
Yeah, right.
So
I know.
So let's talk about the numbers, though, behind. I'd like to compare and contrast long-term versus short-term real quick, and then we can jump to a market update.
So short-term, just remember that it's days of the month. That's how you have to look at it, from how many days of the month am I going to have this property booked, right? Whereas long-term rental, it's how many months in a year am I going to have it booked. So that's the 2 biggest differences. So depending on your price point, depending what you buy it for, and then the maintenance that you're going to have, because you're going to have, like, we have coffee. It's maintenance, but you got coffee that you're providing. You've got utilities that you're paying for. Okay, so in long term, you don't have to pay for any utilities. In short term, you're paying for all utilities. You're paying for internet. You're paying for all the furnishings in there. So you have to look not just at your purchase price, but all the things, the expendables that happen, or that you're responsible for. If that breaks, how many times do people stole our rugs? They've stolen the towels. The towels. Well, they're at the dollar store. Like, I don't know why people love to take our towels. They're at the Dollar Tree, but they steal them. So theft is part of it. So you have that you are responsible for, and maybe you can get it back from them, but probably not. So I don't know. There's just, you have to look at, from an Airbnb short-term rental standpoint, is you're going to have monthly expenses that you wouldn't have anywhere else. You have to account for that in your expenditures and your profit and loss. Because if you just look at it like, well, my loan amount is this, my insurance this, my taxes are this, that's not accounting for the 15% that you're going to have in other expendables.
That's right. Utilities, internet,
mowing,
which is yes, maintenance on the outside, maintenance on the inside, and then any supplies, any and all, and that will eat into your profit if you don't take care of your numbers.
Big time.
So, and then just compare that with long-term rental. So long-term rental,
you don't have utilities. Most of the time, you don't pay for mowing. In some cases, you do. You don't have those expendables. You're not providing anything for them. It's a shorter. You do not get as much money per month, because it may be only $1,000 a month that you're getting for that house. Whereas your short term might get you $3,000 or $4,000 a month, maybe $6,000 a month. You can make more money in a short term rental than you can a long term. but it costs you usually more to get that much money.
Yep. So it's more of a, I would say it's more work, more hands-on, right? More hours invested into a short-term rental. So as long as the investor has that time to expend to that, then, but if they're looking for something that's, I would say maybe a safer, more dependable,
it shouldn't be your first investment.
Would be
Let me say that.
long-term. Airbnb short-term.
Airbnb short-term rental should not be your first investment.
Okay. I like it.
Long-term rental should be your first investment because it's less maintenance. You get to understand more of how to invest without having as much risk. Because you could pay a $75,000, $100,000, $150,000 for a long-term rental, right?
Absolutely.
On a short-term rental, you may be paying $300,000 or $400,000.
Right. Just
so
to get
your
that
risk in a long term is a lot less. So do that first. Make some money.
And then refinance it. Pull out some equity out of it to pay for a down payment towards your.
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
Airbnb side.
That's one way to do it. Yeah. So, anyways, that's our experiences, and we've had some good ones and we've had some bad ones, but we're always like the hot tub deal.
Would you do it again?
Yes, I would do it again, but I would change things a lot faster than what I did before. Like if I could go back and talk to me back then, I'd say, don't chop as much wood.
Yeah.
Get the wood chopper a lot sooner than you did. Okay. Yeah. Don't do it yourself so long.
Work smarter,
not harder.
Not
harder. Yeah. So and hire help faster. So
that's great.
But yeah, it's been a good experience. Learned a lot. Have a lot of wealth there that we can pass on to people, but I think we're still trying to figure out all of the
I think it
details.
changes.
Yeah, it changes.
It's just like the real estate
seasonal.
market.
That's the other thing we did. It's very seasonal.
Very seasonal.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you can make that money very like for 4 to 6 really great months, and then so that's the other thing is the income is up and down, right? As opposed to a long term that's more
January,
steady.
February. Pretty much suck.
Yeah, it's dead.
But you got your May, June, Julys. They're usually really good. Octobers, Novembers, kill it. But some of these other months, they're terrible. You may break even. I mean, just depends on what's all going on around you. But it's cold in the winter.
Yes, and then just real quick, insurance companies. Which one did they like more?
Oh, I don't know. Don't get me started with insurance companies right now. They all suck. So
goodness.
Insurance right now. Yeah, no.
Well, that's another just thing that'll eat into your profit. So
yeah. Remember we talked about insurance on the first episode?
We did.
Well, I'm still not happy with insurance companies after all this time. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Let's market. All right. So let me give you a quick market update right now about what's going on in the world of real estate, which is really cool because I think what we're feeling is what the graphs are telling, at least for me.
I think so.
So let's go back to what inventory was pre-COVID, right? So pre-COVID, we had some, if we look at this graph here, and I can't see it on here, we had about over 1 million properties on the market in 2019. Okay, that's how active houses on the market 2019.
Is this in the U.S.?
This is in the U.S. Yeah,
okay.
And so then we know COVID happened. Things were just going crazy. The migration from out west was just going everywhere in the Midwest, Mid-South, Southeast regions. So then inventory drops. You saw your days on the market was like 30 days on the market. That means it went under contract day number 1, basically.
That's right.
So now what you're seeing is you're having this adjustment in the market where we are now back up to the 1 million houses on the market for the first time since 2019.
So more sellers coming onto the market.
More sellers are on the market now than since COVID. And so there's a couple reasons why that's happened. One is the adjustment in inflation and in the interest rates, right? So the buyers are still real hesitant. They're not just going down and just saying, "Hey, we're buying this right now."
So why do you think they're hesitant? What's the hesitancy for?
Well, so anytime there's uncertainty in the market, okay? Anytime there's uncertainty, people stop and they pause and they say, "We're going to wait and see what happens." And if you look back at what's gone on with these interest rates, they've been all over the place. Now they're at a steady 7 to 7.5%. You may get something a little less than that right now, but they're steady, so people are used to the new normal. But on top of that, right now, you're seeing the markets, and by that I mean Wall Street, all over the place. Like the markets are up and down, which means people's 401ks are all up and down, which means they're not comfortable with investing right now. And because things are just all over the place. So you look at, all right, so now we've got the Iran-Israel situation. We've got the Ukraine-Russia situation. We've got 1,500 protests going on across the nation.
Yes.
Okay. That really has absolutely nothing to do with real estate. But what it does is it makes people feel uncomfortable. Okay. So emotions, buying a house is very emotional, right? So when you're emotionally and you see what's happening all around you and you start to see like, well, if this is going to happen, is that going to happen? And so you start asking, they're just going to wait. They're going to wait it out. The other thing that's happening is that sellers are still pricing the houses like they were in COVID. Okay, so the housing price is still really high. So in a survey that was done, they asked all these sellers, if you put your house on the market right now, do you feel like you're going to get an above full price, at full price, below full price offer? 8 out of 10 of these sellers, 8 out of 10 of them said they thought they were going to get a full price offer on their house. And that's today.
So you're saying that they felt confident that they were going to
Sellers are extremely confident. These people feel really confident in that survey. What is reality? Reality is only 4 out of 10 of them get a full price offer. So we have unreasonable expectations on both sides. Sellers feel like they can get a inflated price for their house because that's what happened 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
Year ago, right? They saw their neighbor sell for X amount of dollars. So
they're
they feel
looking on paper to see what houses have sold. They're going back 5, 6, 7 months a year.
Right.
And they have proof that seller's house or homeowner's house sold for what? So many dollars a square foot.
Right.
And they say, my house can sell for this as well.
Yeah.
My house is better, so therefore I can sell for more. It's what I hear often.
Yeah.
So
let's try it out. Let's try this out for 30 days or 60 days and see if we get any offers, right? And then if not, what are we having to do? Reduce the price. But then the buyers in their mind are thinking, if that house has been on the market that long, there's something wrong with it.
So what would your advice be to those confident sellers?
Let's look at this. So look at this price reduction surge on sellers overestimate the market. So here's the nationwide, after they've had it listed, what is the percentage of sellers that are having to reduce prices? And you can see Arkansas is only at 17%, but you've got Texas at 23%, Colorado 24%, Utah 24%, Nevada 24%, Oregon 25%. So you see all these western states that have been sky high on their prices, and their sellers are having to come
reduce
that much in order to sell their properties.
Yep.
So we're seeing a softening of the market. It's not a bad market. Actually, the market is really good.
You feel like
I think it's a correction.
Coming back to the middle.
Coming back to the middle, where buyers are going to be able to negotiate more.
Yes.
And the sellers have to be more reasonable about where prices are currently, not where they were 6 months ago.
Sure.
So does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. But I guess I go back to say, if you're sitting in that living room with that seller, what would you recommend that the thought process be? What's the plan of action for somebody that thinks that they could get $500,000 when in reality it's $420,000?
Yeah. So we've had that conversation, and luckily we have some really good sellers that listen to us. But let's use the example. We had a house listed, and we had it on the market for maybe three weeks, and we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 showings on that house, no offers. So the market was telling us
it's not worth
this list price, right? There's no way you have 25 people look at that property and not have an offer on it. Now, why? The other question is, then why weren't the buyers making an offer on it?
Right.
Think about that. We had this house under 200,000, and we had over 30 people look at this house. It was all said and done. And why weren't that? If there's that many buyers in the market, why weren't they making any offers? And that's a crazy thing to have.
Maybe they were afraid to offend the homeowner. Do you think?
I think so.
You think they were a little bit they had a humanistic part to them that said, well, my offer wouldn't be what they would even be interested in.
It's not worth the time that's going to take to make a lowball offer, and I don't want to offend the seller.
And they don't want to offend them. So it all came down to not wanting to be rude.
So the seller's always, I've heard this mindset of seller, well, tell them just make me an offer. Tell them just make me an offer. That's not how buyers generally work. What's the percentage difference?
I believe somewhere between 4 and 6%
is where they come off the price, the purchase price.
Well, the sellers have to be priced at around 4 to 6% within the buyer's range for them to make an offer, for the buyer to make an offer.
That makes a lot of sense.
Otherwise, they don't think they even have a shot. They're too far apart.
Yeah.
Now, that's not every case by any means, but do I see that? Yes. So in this market, I'm seeing a lot of 6% less offers coming in, negotiating it and getting it sold somewhere around 3 to 4% within list price.
But do you think that there's a lot of buyers in the market right now?
I think there are a lot of buyers in the market right now. I think there's a lot. And I think that they're not the $400,000 buyer, but I think they're the $250,000 and under that are looking. I also think that they're looking for something move-in ready. Let's talk about that for a minute. What are you seeing in the market right now as far as condition goes, and how's that affecting maybe these properties and not selling?
Yeah, they don't have most buyers don't walk in with a wad of cash to fix these properties up with.
So they need it to be move-in ready.
They need sellers to pay closing cost, and they need it to be more move-in ready. So we get under contract, and then they ask you for, 15 things to be repaired, because they don't have the money to do it themselves most of the time. Now, some of it's nitpicky stuff. I mean, it's a used house, like a used car. You don't expect to buy a used car and not have any scratches or dents.
Sure.
So reasonable expectations need to be done by realtors to say, listen, you're going to find stuff that's wrong. Fix the major issues. Don't fix the minor issues. Don't be reasonable, right?
But I think, too, because of who the buyer is now, there's a lot of first-time home buyers coming into the market, or even...
Because they couldn't, they were in COVID.
That's right.
They were
out.
They were completely out during COVID.
They got beat out every time.
Every time.
So by multiple offers going above list price.
That's right.
Cash. So... Absolutely. So they're coming back out now, but you're right. They don't have a lot of expendable income that they can just use to fix up these properties. And I think that, a homeowner, if you're thinking about selling, what you're saying is make that property move-in ready as close to possible. And then you can tap on a little bit more to accommodate those repairs. Not a lot, but make it sellable.
And,
right?
Yeah. And understand that the market 6 months ago, a year ago, is not the market today.
Have you ever seen the market evolve so much since COVID?
No.
It has.
No.
I could safely say each quarter has been different since COVID. Pre-COVID, was it that way?
Yeah, between 2015 and 2019, I can't think of one thing in the market that changed that was like, oh, wow, this is major. And we're sitting here talking about this at least every other quarter that look what the Fed did over here. Look at what insurance is doing over there. Look at what this bank's doing. Like it's crazy how much this is changing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think one of the major deals is that we had one of the largest, and I don't think the history has been written on this yet. I think we had one of the largest migrations that we have ever seen since the gold rush. Think about that back in the 1800s when California became a nation and they signed the treaty of, or I can't remember that treaty's name. They signed the treaty with Mexico. The next day, they found gold in California. The next day.
Yeah.
And then from everywhere out east, you have the Oregon Trail and everybody. There's just the largest migration that you've ever seen across the continent. I think you saw that again in COVID, and it was coming back into the central and the south part of the country. And I still think that you're going to see more of that, but I think that that right there is one of the biggest corrections.
Do you think it was driving a lot of the price hikes and a lot of the chaos?
They were selling for cash. They were buying in the middle, for lesser prices.
So why are we normalizing now?
Well, we're normalizing now because of the unrest. They were getting 3-4% interest, so it was absolutely making financial sense. But now we're at sevens. We're in the 7s, 6s, and the things are different. Inflation is starting to go down, but it was really tough there for a while, so they just had to stop. People are making them go back to work instead of working from the house.
Yes.
Okay, so remember that was a big deal.
Yep.
Well, I can work anywhere in the country because I can work from home. Well,
I can work from an Airbnb.
Yeah, now they're saying, and that happened to us.
Yes.
People were working from the Airbnb.
Yeah, I had to set up a desk area.
Yeah. So now they're forced to go back into the office because that didn't work. And now what that's doing is it's driving
keeping people back to the metropolitan, the business, the industry.
We're back to where we were pre-COVID, and the fact that prices are starting to stabilize in a healthy way. This is actually healthy. This isn't unhealthy. When you go up by 40% in appreciation, that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
When you see the correction of this coming in the middle here, that's a healthy market. We're starting to see more stuff be stable. Now, as we if the interest rates get down to 5%, you watch what happens. You'll start to see another migration from out west.
Yeah. Okay. I believe it.
And from the East Coast. But if the interest rates get down to 5, this thing starts over again with people moving toward the center of everything. Don't get me wrong too. And I don't want to talk about this, but the other thing it's just truth. Is that politics drives a lot of this too.
Sure.
Okay?
Yes, a lot of people left the West for political reasons.
Yeah, and we're not trying to get political, but we're all saying, hey, when people were coming out West and they were telling it was politically driven, the reason they were coming out. So that's another issue too that we may see in the next 4 or 8 years or whatever, is that politically it could drive people one way or the other. We don't know what that's going to look like, but that happened during COVID. That was another big reason.
Absolutely. That was what everyone, that was always what they were hesitant to say, but finally when they warmed up, they let us know, all right, this is the real reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it is a healthy market. It's an adjusting market. I think sellers are going to have to be more reasonable about expectations of market value today, not 6 months ago, not a year ago, today. Be reasonable about where you need to be out on the market. And buyers need to be more aggressive, not less aggressive. That's their problem, is they sit on the sideline and they're waiting for that perfect house and they don't want to offend the seller. And the seller's sitting there saying, well, I've been on the market 90 days. Make me an offer.
So you're giving advice to the buyer just to say, just make the offer. Make the offer.
Make the offer. And your agent should be able to tell you if you're going to be in the ballpark or not based off of what they're seeing or what they think the house is. But be aggressive. If you're a buyer, be aggressive. Mm-hmm. If you see a house sit on the market, be aggressive. Don't sit there and be, well, I don't want to offend them no, it's just paper until it's accepted.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, so when you say be aggressive, that's like go be aggressively, get your pre-approval and have that in hand and know exactly what you're comfortable with, because that also has been that's backtracked and terminated so many contracts is people aren't fully understanding what their monthly payments are going to be. They're not comfortable until after they've already negotiated the house.
Right.
So have that ready, then go make the offer and you could get you a nice house,
Yeah. And then, hey, just be reasonable in the fact that if you're buying a used house, don't treat it like a new house.
That's another good point. Yes.
If it's a used house and it's going to have stuff, guess what? There's going to be dents and scratches on it. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Fix what needs to be fixed. Live with what you can live with. But more than anything, when this is what I see so many times, is that the buyers feel like they got to win or, they got to beat the seller up. And I'm like, no, just who's beating who up? Who cares? Win is you get to have Christmas in this house. Win is you get to have a birthday party in this house with your kids.
And the only way to win is that everyone maybe comes together,
you got to meet in the middle, right?
So
you got to compromise on something.
It's a give and take.
It's a give and take.
I love that. So it's unifying everybody. At the end of the day, we're all headed towards the same direction. So
I hope so. I mean, that's what you hope when you get them buyers and sellers together. Closing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good.
Okay. So the last thing I want us to talk about is something that's kind of been real passionate with me and you in the last week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like we've been talking about this more, and I feel like there's some good stuff there. You've been reading a book. I've read it. So you've been reading it. Our boy Jacob Stanford sent us the guy Jamie
Winship.
I started saying I went through. So this has been really good. So tell me some things that you've got out about the book.
So, well, I think that this book leads to exactly what we've been talking about in the market. Is there's a lot of fear in the market, and I'm going to take that to a whole different level. Of there's a lot of fear in life right now. There's a lot people. More than ever in my lifetime, I've noticed that individuals are making decisions through the eyes of fear-based decisions. And if you really, and it won't come across that way at the very, like I would say at the initial beginning, but if you really dig deep onto why someone's making a decision, it comes down to a fear that they have. And it's what this book specifically talks about is that fear can become an identity that we carry, that we actually believe, when in reality, it's false. Most of the time, the fears that we believe are not that bad, and
or even real.
Or real. So Jamie talks a lot about it being false, a false identity, and specifically because of who we are in Jesus Christ. Like I think that he talks about that Christ just has already taken that fear from us, and there's no reason to live under that burden because being with him is the best thing. But ultimately, I keep talking there, and I'm going to pull up a couple of things that I highlighted.
I sent an email to our agents this week, and because we've been seeing this, right? We have all this unrest overseas. We have all this unrest in America right now, and it really bothers me that we're seeing all this, and then you turn on the news, and what's the one thing that they always tell you? This is happening. It's just all fear based. Is what they're trying to do, because all they're doing is sell ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can get enough people to view what's going on, what sells more than anything
is fear. Driving headlines.
Fear and negativity sell, and that's unfortunate. It's to tell you something about our climate and our culture is that when fear and negativity sell more than positivity in truth, then you have a cultural problem. And I think that's what you and I are saying is like culturally that you should be looking at this and saying, hey, what can I control? And that's what I tell my agents. Say, hey, what can you control? Well, you can control what you can control, which is today I'm going to get up. I'm going to be a positive influence on my clients. Today, I'm going to get up and be a positive influence on my family. I'm going to go in and say, I'm not going to believe that untruth. I'm not going to fall into that fear trap. I'm going to believe that today's going to be a good day and that I am only going to control what I can control. And I think that was my message to them is saying, and I gave a cool story. I'll tell the story real quick. So, there was a guy on vacation, him and his wife, and he came back to the cabin that they were staying at, and he was all beat up and scraped up. And the wife said, honey, what happened? He's like, I saw a snake on the road. And she's like, well, honey, do you not remember that the guy told us yesterday that there's no poisonous snakes in this area? And he's like, yeah. He said, but it doesn't take a poisonous snake to have you jump off a 20-foot cliff.
Yeah.
So what's the point? It's like,
fear drove him to jump off the cliff.
Fear drove
of
him.
The snake.
Fear of the snake. He knew it wasn't true. That snake's not poisonous. The snake didn't make him jump off the cliff. His fear made him jump off the cliff. So how many cliffs are we jumping off a day for a fear that's not even real?
Absolutely.
What are we believing in this market right now? When we're talking about this market, uncertainty is nothing. It's just another term for fear.
Yeah.
Right? So we have all this fear. And
it creates anxiety. And when you're anxious, you believe lies, you shame, guilt, and then you act out of those.
Yeah.
And that's not a healthy way to live. It's definitely not living your best life. It's definitely not allowing other people to enjoy you around you, because that creates what does that look like on the outside of somebody that's living in fear? What do you physically see? I'm just
when I see somebody
when
living
you
in
see
fear,
somebody that living in fear that you can tell
they seem, I don't even know how to explain it other than to themselves, like they're worried, like like when you see somebody like you call them a worry wart or something, like they seem like they're just
Reserved,
anxious a little bit, but also reserved. And it's like this, they're constantly thinking about, well, if I leave here, am I going to get in a car wreck? You know, like there's always that thought that crosses their mind of the what ifs in life. And to me, that's a terrible way to live. Like, what if something bad happens? I mean, it could. I mean, be smart about it. I mean, I think God gave us a sense like, hey, if I'm swimming and there's some sharks underneath me, I'm going to get in the boat. Okay, I think that's not fear. That's just smart, right? God gives you the fear there to say, get out of the water. There's sharks. But sometimes there's not. You're in a pool of water. There's no sharks There's no sharks. There's no snakes. There's no alligators. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, I can't see what's underneath me, so my imagination is telling me there's sharks underneath there.
Oh, man. Our imagination will take us horrible places or wonderful places, depending on what you feed it, right?
Right.
Oh, I love that. So give me an example of somebody, not someone specific, but what do they look like when they're living freely, living outside of the burden of fear? When maybe they make choices. Not that they don't have any fear.
Let me just I'll just use myself as an example. A couple years ago, I was dealing with really bad issues with quorum court and issues on there and being a public servant. And I'm just getting hate mail all the time. Text messages, hate mail. And it was really bothering me. And it was at the point where I just said, all right, I'm getting off social media. I'm getting off this. I didn't go to church for a couple of weeks because I was afraid somebody was going to say something to me at church, which of course they didn't. They wouldn't. It was all in my head. And so I got to the point, and I remember seeing there was a picture of you that you took me, and I'm with Jeremiah. He's not even a year old, I don't think. And I'm sitting there holding him in the pool, and I'm staring off in the distance. I'll always remember this picture. I have it. And I was 1,000 miles away. I wasn't present with Jeremiah. Here's my brand new baby boy. I wasn't present with you. And I remember that's when I look back on that, I said, that's what fear is. That's what living in fear looks like, is that you are trapped in your own head, in your own minds, in your own world. And the reality is, here is this beautiful thing that I can't experience because I am sitting here being a victim. I was the victim. I was thinking the world is out to get me. I felt sorry for me. And I couldn't go anywhere, and I couldn't say anything, and I couldn't be who I wanted to be.
You felt blinded and trapped, and
I felt horrible, and it took me a long time to get out of that trap of being the victim, have that victim mentality.
So, what was the shift?
The shift was that there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. That was the shift, and so it's like, if God doesn't condemn me, then why am I condemning myself? And I can't change what these people think or what they believe. They don't have all the information, and even if they did, I don't think that they would really care. They have their own personal beliefs, and that's fine. But what can I control? I can only control what I can control. I can pray about it. I can ask God to lead me, and then I'm not going to live in fear because whatever that I decide to do, I'm not going to get condemned as long as it's within the path that He wants me to go in, right? There'll always be these haters, right? We always have these haters. I didn't want to do this podcast forever because I was afraid of those little comments down at the bottom. And I finally said, enough with that. I know that I want to speak truth, and I want to teach truth about business, about what it takes, about what really happens with business owners. And I'm not going to let those comments down at the end of the feed judge who I am and what I do. And they can have their opinions, and I want them to have their opinions, but I'm not going to let that dictate what I do. I'm just not.
That's so well said.
Yeah.
That's so well said.
So that's a lot in a little
so good.
bit of time, but
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment that you were like, yeah, I've been living in this moment of fear, and you're like,
yes,
I got out of that?
Oh, a little bit. I would say that it's a progression of getting better, but once you become a mom, so I had no fear. I was a very fearless person, to be honest with you, to some level, maybe at a naive perspective. But when you have children, there is a huge fear that sets in. And so the fear, I guess I could say it is, I wasn't concerned with myself, But once that child came into the world, now I'm concerned with them and their well-being, their safety. And so my attention went to that and protecting these little boys, right? So as a mom, I think that there's a balance there. I think in life, in business, and everything that we do, we can't let that fear dictate it. And here's why, is because I literally shut down if I let a fearful thought take over the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's a daily step up to the plate. You know, I mean, God's like slowly working through me every day to get better about this. But it's every morning. I have to put that on and say, I will choose to like act in God's will and not like mine and the fear that I believe that could happen. That's probably not going to happen. That's probably not that bad or true. So I think that there is a daily grind when it comes to that. And I think God gives us that, sanctification over time. Slowly He makes it better for us. So don't believe the lies. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't believe lies. Don't get stuck in that fear cycle, that prism of fear. But
every day we deal with it when running a business, when owning a business. Every day you could think, what's going to happen today? Am I going to get sued? Is somebody going to walk in the door and be mad? And so
we've all been
that
there.
Identity, you just take it off and you go, I did the best I could today.
Yeah.
I did my best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, we deal in a highly litigious world.
Right.
I mean, anything that you say or do, right? You know, they could
be used against you.
But does that mean that you got to be muted all the time?
No.
You know, it's just that's where the point where I'm just over it.
I think we're free to. I think we're free to think our own thoughts and be okay with that. So
yeah.
Okay, this is great, Caleb.
It's good. Yeah.
Wonderful conversation.
And I wanted to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's I won't say the age.
Nope.
I'm not that brave.
Don't say the age.
But thank you for being an awesome mom and an awesome wife and an awesome business partner.
Thanks, babe.
This is fun.
I love you.
I love you. This is good. All right. Thanks. Thanks for joining the Caleb and Jody Moore podcast today. If you like what you heard, just hit the like and subscribe button there below.
And we want you to be a part of the process. So if you have questions or topics that you'd love for us to cover, please add them in the comment or send us a message.